Well, an absolutely tragic shooting in Charlotte where 4 law officers were killed while serving a warrant. That's some of the news that you're seeing in North Carolina, and just brings up even more frustration for those who want some kind of law and order. But when you see stories of police officers being shot and killed, it can really make you want to focus more on that issue of bringing about law and order. But that's a developing story, of course, in North Carolina. But you also had several weeks ago a Chicago police officer shot and killed. And that officer, Herrera, had a funeral service yesterday. And if you follow Mark Weiermuller on X, you can see that he had some of the video of Luis Huska, I should say. I'm sorry, I mispronounced the name there, identified, but Luis Huska having a memorial service and having the support of law enforcement there and law enforcement families. And something I think is important to see and recognize. But what was fascinating is you had the law enforcement community there and the families there supporting, but the family of the fallen officer, Huska, said they don't want Brandon Johnson there. They don't want J.B. Pritzker there. And even Comptroller Susana Mendoza posting this on X yesterday, saying, last night at Officer Huska's visitation, his grief-stricken mother asked Representative Angelica Cuellar and me to please tell Chicago Mayor that he was unwelcome at her son's funeral. We both called him before 10 p.m. asking he please honor her wishes, but this went out at 10:35 a few days ago, which included going to the location of the event. But apparently a change of heart there, and he did not show up. Governor J.B. Pritzker asked about this yesterday as well. Here's what he had to say.
Listen, I get invited to and have attended unfortunately, a lot of funerals. It is really up to the family whether they want the attention that comes with and all of the hullabaloo that comes with public officials attending. So I always follow the request of the family to do whatever it is that makes them most comfortable.
They even referenced, they said, and not necessarily you per se, but politicians in the state, they felt as if the laws did not protect the police. And others have noted what you said in your statement. You did not call it a murder. You called it his passing. Was that deliberate by not saying he was murdered?
No, listen, we understand, I understand that this was a murder. This was a terrible crime that was perpetrated and against somebody who is not only a law enforcement officer, but a good person. And so no, the intention here is just to honor his passing and his life and the work that he did.
So Officer Huesca's services, obviously pretty emotional, and something I think is important that, again, people reflect upon to make sure that it's clear law enforcement has support of the community. But the family saying, no, they don't want J.B. Pritzker there. They don't want Brandon Johnson there, as Officer Luis Huesca is being honored after being shot and killed by a suspect who, he was just on his way home after work. He was even in his police uniform. And some of the other headlines are they have recovered the firearm. They have the suspect named, but obviously there'll be developments in all of that. I chatted with William Kelly this morning, Chicago reporter, and talked a bit about the sentiment of these families saying, no, they don't want these politicians there.
Well, that chapel looks familiar for a couple of reasons. One, I graduated from that high school, and two, there have been way too many police officer funerals held in that chapel. And as somebody who was born and raised on the south side of Chicago, who loves Chicago, who was raised to believe that the mayor of Chicago is the most important job in the world, it really blows my mind, not only as a reporter, but as a Chicagoan, that the mayor of Chicago wasn't at the funeral. There's something seriously wrong here, Greg. The mayor should be there as a public servant, shaking hands, not only of the family, but of every person entering and exiting that chapel. So clearly there's something wrong with the leadership in the city of Chicago. There's a lack of understanding of what the job is, from what I'm hearing, obviously from the family and from other officers. And that does not bode well for the summer shooting season, as it's, I guess, grimly referred to in the city of Chicago, Greg.
So William Kelly also noting that even the various other officials that were planning on going to the funeral were asked not to attend, including the COPA chief, Andrea Kirsten. So clearly there's a lot of frustration with the slain officer's family, and it's not the only one in the history of slain officers we've seen recently in Chicago. Frustrated with the leadership there. But William Kelly also grabbing some video over the weekend that's gone viral, 2 million views or so, and it's of what looks like a preview of some activities for this summer in downtown Chicago.
Just got a reporter's sense that there was something happening and just went ahead and pressed record, and sure enough, the video that we posted got we're going to break 2 million views at some point today. It's on my Twitter feed. The reason why this is relevant is people, I think, were hoping that the episodes like this were behind us, that this was 2020, that this was George Floyd, that this was BLM, or this was Lori Lightfoot, or something that was behind us. It's obviously not only is it not behind us, it is essentially what we call any day of the week that has nice weather is what it is now. And what makes it specifically, what I think the combination that made that video go viral was the fact that Kim Foxx, the Cook County State's attorney, said that she's going to prosecute free speech protesters at the DNC, the Democrat National Convention, coming to Chicago in August. But she's clearly not prosecuting any violent criminals, armed robbers, smash and grab, looters, that were on that video. Before, during, and after I pressed record. So this is a problem, an ongoing problem for Chicagoans, and it's obviously spreading into the suburbs and the Keller counties now. But it's clearly going to be a major problem when the DNC comes to town, with people who are protesting things that are happening in the Middle East, when we have people who are just coming from outside of Chicago, and all of our police resources are focusing on protecting the DNC gala guests and leaving the neighborhoods exposed to further looting and smash and grabs, Greg.
So appreciate William Kelly taking the time with us to share that video and give us some of the sentiments on the ground there in Chicago. It is Bishop on Air. Thanks for hanging out, and be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, all right? Back at it another full week, and plenty for us to tackle here with Bishop on Air.